Have you ever really stopped to think about a word you use constantly every single day? Well, today we're going to do just that. We're going to take one simple word, question, and unpack all of its hidden powers. It's kind of like a linguistic detective story. So, let's get into it. So, let's just kick things off with a question about the word question itself. I mean, seriously, how many different gigs can one little word really have in our language? You might be surprised. Now, what's with this number, 850? Well, this is pretty cool. The word question is part of something called the Basic English List. It's a list of just 850 words that are considered absolutely essential for day-to-day communication. For a word to make that list, it has to be a real workhorse, incredibly versatile. To really see how it works, let's break it down. We're going to start by looking at question as a thing, when it's being a noun. And you'll see pretty quickly that it's way more than just asking for directions. Okay, this is the one we all know, right? Its first job, its main job, is to be an inquiry. It's a straightforward request for some information. Super simple, and really the bedrock of how we talk to each other. And here's a perfect example of that job in action. The word question here is basically a big signpost. It's pointing to the sentence that follows and saying, hey, this part needs an answer. It's a label for a request. But hold on, because here's where it gets a little more complex. The word can pivot and take on a whole different vibe. A question isn't always just a simple request for a fact. So its second job as a noun is to stand in for a problem, an issue, something tricky we need to talk about or figure out. You could almost swap it out with words like issue or matter. In this sentence, nobody's looking for a simple answer. When you say it's a question of right and wrong, you're talking about a huge, complicated moral dilemma. The question here is a challenge, something you have to wrestle with, not just a query you can answer and move on from. All right, so we've seen question as a noun, as a thing. Now let's switch gears and look at it as an action, what happens when it's a verb. And just like its noun form, this verb is doing more than one job. So the first role of the verb is basically the action version of our first noun. To question someone means you're actively asking them stuff, maybe even interrogating them. It's the act of digging for answers. I love this example because it's so direct. You can really feel the action. This isn't just one casual inquiry. The word questioned here implies a really thorough, focused, and maybe even intense conversation. And of course, since it's a verb, it's totally flexible. You can have he questioned, they questioned, we are questioning. This lets it describe the act of asking, no matter when it's happening. And here we go again, another pivot. Just like the noun had a deeper second meaning, so does the verb. See, to question something doesn't always mean you're asking a question out loud. This second job is all internal. It's about doubt, skepticism, or even mistrust. When you question a statement or an idea, you might not be looking for an answer at all. You're just expressing that you're not so sure you believe it. This example absolutely nails that internal struggle. They might not have said a single word to him. The questioning here is all in their heads. It's the act of feeling uncertain, of having doubts. So we've talked a lot about what question is. But sometimes the best way to really understand something is to look at what it isn't. So let's try that. Let's look at its opposites. For its first job as a noun, the inquiry, the opposite is pretty simple and obvious. It's an answer. One is asking for the info, the other is giving the info. They're a perfect pair. But check this out. For its second noun job, the problem, the opposite isn't an answer. It's a solution. And that little difference really shows you how far apart those two noun meanings actually are. One needs a fact, the other needs a fix. Now this one is really powerful. The opposite of our second verb, to question something, is to trust it. And that's not just about facts and information anymore, is it? That's about confidence, belief, and having faith in something. So after taking it all apart, what's the big takeaway? Let's pull all these different jobs back together and really appreciate the power that's hiding in this one little word we use all the time. So when you put it all together, you realize this one word is doing 4 totally different things. It's an inquiry that needs an answer. It's a problem that needs a solution. It's the physical act of interrogating someone. And it's the quiet, internal feeling of doubt. And let's just go back to where we started. All of that nuance, all of that complexity is crammed into just one of the 850 words considered absolutely essential for communication. That's some serious linguistic efficiency right there.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, if a word as common as question can hold all these different worlds of meaning, from a simple query to a huge moral problem to a deep personal doubt, what other secret powers are we totally overlooking in the words we use every single day?